Good morning, afternoon, or evening, all of my outdoor adventurous friends. This is The Outdoor Gypsy, where I try and bring you the highest quality content that I can in as little of time as possible, primarily on hiking and backpacking. If you enjoy this video, go ahead, trample all over that like button down below. Consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy this type of content, and drop me a line if you have any questions regarding this hike. Stay tuned all the way until the very end of the video, where I will be sharing my thoughts, tips, tricks, things you may want to know before you go on this adventure. Without further ado, this is backpacking to SNOWMASS Lake via the Maroon SNOWMASS 1975 trail. Enjoy. SNOWMASS Lake, polar plunge, here we go. All right, welcome back. So, what are my thoughts? What did I think of this trail? I thought this trail was excellent. I would highly recommend it. If you're pondering like, hey, should I do it? Definitely yes. I'm gonna rate this probably an 8 out of 10. It would have been a little higher if there weren't some other factors that brought it down a little bit, just for me personally. But overall, I would highly recommend you try this trail. I'm going to be leaving a link down in the description below from the White River National Forest Ranger Station, which will kind of give you a little brief overview and the technicals as far as the elevation gain and the distance. But as far as what I had recorded, it said 9.5 miles from the parking lot essentially to SNOWMASS Lake with an elevation gain of 2,600 feet. The reported distance was 7.3 miles with about 2,600 feet in elevation gain, so for what it's worth. As far as the trail condition goes, the first 2 to 4 miles were excellent, very soft on the feet, very easy to travel and negotiate. And like most backcountry trails, it becomes a little bit more rough and a little bit more undulating, if you will. So, but overall, it's very good for backcountry hiking and backpacking. All right, let's talk a little bit about wildflowers. Depending on the time of the year that you do this hike, you're gonna probably see a little bit different wildflowers out there. But I have to say, this has got to be up there with some of the best areas I've hiked in as far as wildflowers go. So if that's your thing, you're gonna be in heaven here. Just off the top of my head, from what I remember, we definitely got to see some fireweed, some red Indian paintbrushes, purple owl clover, prairie flax. We got to see elephant flowers, which are really cool flowers, bunch of daisies, and the famous Colorado columbine, and many, many more that I don't remember all the names of, but I will list them here. And yeah, I mean, this is a wildflower viewing adventure. Let's talk about wildlife. Unfortunately, for us, there was not much to talk about. The biggest game we had seen was a marmot. And even he was a little camera shy, unfortunately. But I know for a fact in this area, you can see black bear, moose, mountain lion, the whole nine. But again, for us on this trip, we had just not seen any. The unfortunate part about that is I feel like this hike really lends itself well to seeing big game. It's set up really well for it. But again, we just didn't see any, so hopefully you guys have better luck than we did. I want to talk about a couple of the negatives on this trip that kind of brought down the overall experience for me personally. There were 3 big ones. The first one is there are a lot of people that you're going to be hiking and camping with. I would say just because of how SNOWMASS Lake sits, it's a very common junction point for a lot of different trailheads, especially the big one being the 4 Pass Loop. So unless you're doing this hike on a Tuesday through Thursday, you're going to be spending your time with a decent amount of people. Secondly, I would say there is a lot of bugs at SNOWMASS Lake. There are hordes of mosquitoes. I usually use all natural bug repellent with Pickardin. I don't know if these guys are just used to it or habituated to it, but it didn't touch them. I feel like it didn't keep them away for longer than 5 minutes at a time. If you have a bug net, bring it. You might find it very useful. Otherwise, I rarely make this recommendation, but you may want to try using a bug repellent with some sort of DEET in it if you really dislike bugs. Third negative of the trip for us personally was there was a lot of smoke. If you can't tell already in the background, it kind of dulled out a lot of the spectacular views, kind of just washed them out, faded them away into the background, and it wasn't as intense as it could have been for us. One of the last points I'd like to make, it's neither negative or positive, but just something to be aware of, is altitude sickness. Remember, this hike starts at 8,400 feet and getting to SNOWMASS Lake is just shy of 11,000 feet, so you are up there. My brother and I had met my friend Nick here in Colorado to do this hike, and both my brother and I are coming from from around sea level. So once you get around 9,500 feet to 10,000 feet, we started feeling it a little bit, not bad. It was after we got to SNOWMASS and we really had set up camp that we started feeling it. The heart rate was starting to elevate a bunch. It was a little difficult to sleep. The following morning when we had woken up, my brother definitely had a lot of symptoms of altitude sickness. We were actually supposed to make this a long trip, the Capitol Creek circuit, but we had to make the tough, but I think the correct decision to cut that trip short. We turned around and we actually went back down. We only camped one night, just because, again, my brother got really altitude sick. Fortunately, the further we kept going down, the better he felt. So in hindsight, it was the correct decision. Just a word from the wise, altitude sickness is the real deal. Be mindful of it, because especially if you're gonna keep pushing your body through those symptoms and you're gonna get further and further away from civilization, you could end up in a very very difficult position really quickly. So just be mindful of that. Listen to your body, and if it's not handling that altitude well, just get back down so that you start feeling better. Hopefully that helped you guys prepare a little bit better for this trip. This is The Outdoor Gypsy. I'm signing off for now, but I will see you guys on the next adventure.